Step number one is to find your voice of passion on Twitter. Now, Twitter is very, very different from other social media channels, for instance, LinkedIn, YouTube, where you really are kind of going hardcore at your target market. On Twitter, it's really about creating shareable content, which is going to increase your follower count so that you can then engage with people and have that kind of Twitter respect that, okay, I have a lot of followers on Twitter. I have 175,000 followers on Twitter, and the way I accomplished that was by finding my voice of passion on Twitter. Now, for me personally, I shared my faith. I'm a Christian. I'm very passionate about that. And so that's what I used. Now, the important thing when you're choosing your voice of passion, I encourage you to write down 3, 4, 5 things about which you are very passionate, and then ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, my target market, does a significant portion of my target market share my passion? Number 2, is there a significant portion of my target market that would be negatively impacted by this passion and would be maybe even offended by it? Okay, so that's where you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that whatever it is you're selling, make sure that your passion for canoeing or for politics or religion or whatever it is shared by a large number of your target market that at least, and definitely they're not going to find it offensive, but hopefully many of them actually share in this passion. So again, in my case, I happen to know that about somewhere between 70 to 80% of small business owners in the United States of America, which is my target market at the time I started Twitter, they would say that they were Christians. So I knew that that was something that certainly they weren't going to find. A very tiny percentage, maybe 5% of business owners might find it offensive that I was sharing my faith online, but the vast majority would actually identify with it. And so even though I wasn't talking about business, I knew it was something that as I connected through Twitter one-on-one with business owners, they would appreciate that. Okay, now again, I'm not saying in any way that that's what you should share. You got to find your passion for whatever that is, and you've got to share that on Twitter. We had a workshop, a live workshop for this, and one of the sales individuals on there started talking about those that are in, I believe it was abusive relationships. Another one was talking about family that, trying to, he was really passionate about marriage and child rearing and things like that. And I'm like, those are both great things, right? Because a vast majority of business owners and, individuals who you're trying to sell residentially are married or are parenting kids. So, again, look at your target market. Now, if my target market, I'm trying to sell things to 18 to 25-year-olds, then talking and being passionate about marriage and child rearing probably isn't a good idea, because that's not something where they're going to share that passion. Again, they're not going to be offended by it, but they're not going to share that passion. So find your voice of passion on Twitter. That's step number 1. Then we can move on to start moving towards creating that profile to generate your warm local sales leads.